What's going on, y'all? Today I just want to talk to you guys about waiting on the Lord. And waiting on the Lord is one of them things that it's like, it's not the easiest to do, but it's so beneficial. Especially when you know that God is going to bless you with something that you want or something that you know you need, right? And so sometimes in the waiting process, we could kind of get impatient, you know what I'm saying? We could kind of wonder if he's still there. Speaking about impatience, I did a video on impatience. You guys should go check that out. Go see if y'all like it or not, you know what I'm saying? Just go watch it. Just go watch it if you want. But talking about waiting on God, sometimes we can get impatient. Sometimes we can get in that mood where it's like, God, what are you doing? I'm tired of waiting. I don't want to keep on going, you know what I'm saying? I want it now. And that's kind of what I talked about in my last video once again. But those feelings are very real. Sometimes we could wonder if he's still there. Like, God, are you still there? Like, where are you? Like, I don't feel you. I don't know if you're here. I don't know if you're there. I don't know what you're doing right now. You know what I'm saying? And also, sometimes when we're waiting on God, it could feel lonely. Sometimes we could just wonder, like, dang, I feel so alone. Like, I'm tired of being alone. Like, nobody hits me up. Nobody calls me. Nobody does this and that. And while you're feeling alone, God may be preparing those people for you. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to talk a little bit about that. You know, sometimes we could get tired of waiting, you know what I'm saying? And waiting can be stressful depending on the type of situation that we're in, you know? Like, let's say there's a deadline due and say you're working in a group project and you have to get something done by a certain deadline and somebody doesn't have that their part of the project done, and it's like 2 hours before the project's due. That can be stressful, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes we're waiting on God for a certain thing and our backs are up against the wall. We're like in the corner. We're like, God, if you don't do something, I don't know what's going to happen. And so the Bible tells us that we are to wait patiently for the Lord, to be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. That's Psalms 27 verse 14. And it's so important that we wait for the Lord. But the psalmist also mentioned that we're to be brave and courageous. In those times where our backs are against the wall, it can be very scary. But what are we supposed to do? Be brave and courageous and understand that, you know what? God is going to be with me regardless. He's going to keep me. He's going to go before me, and he's going to be with me. And so that's one thing to really understand. And we also should understand that also in the waiting process, our endurance and our faith is being grown. James 1 verses 2-4 says, Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy, for you know that your faith is tested. Your endurance has a chance to grow, so let it grow. When your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. That means that when your faith is good, that when your faith is being tested, is being put through the fire, you know what I'm saying? You're waiting on God to show up for you, which is having faith. Your faith is being tested. How long can I trust you in this waiting process? Are you going to be fruitful in your waiting? Are you going to allow it to develop and get stronger? Because if your faith gets stronger now, then it's going to be stronger with bigger things, you know what I'm saying? With many different things. And that's a really good point. Romans 12:12 tells us that there are things that we should do while we're waiting. Rejoice in our confident hope. Be patient in trouble and keep on praying. We have to continue to pray, because when we continue to pray, we continue to let God know, like, hey, God, I'm here, I'm waiting, and I trust your plan. I know that you got me, and God is going to come through. So if you're tired of waiting, God's got you. Just keep on praying, be brave and be courageous, and understand that your faith is being tested and that it's going to grow into something that's so much more bigger, beyond imagination. You know what I'm saying? It's going to grow your faith to new levels. And that's really what God wants. My next point is really like, where is God during the waiting? Where is God in the waiting? And there are a couple verses that show us where God could possibly be in the waiting, where he is during the waiting. While in the waiting, God is working, right? We have to understand that God is working, and he's working in us so that we can do what pleases him. Remember, I talked about when we're tired of waiting that God is growing our endurance. Our faith is being tested and it is growing. God is also working in us so that we do the things that please him, because he wants us to do the things that please him, and we should want that as well. He's given us the desires to do what pleases him. Philippians 2:13 says, For God is working in you, giving you the desire and the power to do what pleases him. So that shows us, okay, that while I'm waiting for whatever it is I'm waiting for, God is working on me, and God is going to make sure that I have everything I need to be able to hold this thing that he's going to give me. Because if I don't have everything that I need to hold it up, I'm not going to be strong enough. It's going to fall and it's going to crush me. And then I'm gonna die. It's gonna be too much for me. And that's not what God wants. God wants to bless us with things. So he has to make sure that we're prepared and we have everything that we need to be able to hold or to sustain them. Why? He cares about us, and he's not just going to give us something that's going to crush us. You know what I'm saying? It also says in 1 Corinthians 15:10, it says, "But whatever I am now, it's all because God poured his special favor on me, and not without results. For I have worked harder than any of the other apostles. Yet it was not I, but God who was working through me by his grace." So that just goes to show that everything that Paul was doing, God was working through Paul by his grace. So Paul was doing the things that please God. And that's what God is working in us to do as well, right? Just another reminder of where God is during the waiting. He's working. John 5 verse 17, when Jesus is speaking and he says, "My Father is always working and so am I." So that lets us know that the Father, he's always moving. He's always doing something. He's not just sitting by, just looking at us saying, I wonder what he's going to do now. No, that's not the Father. You know what I'm saying? He's always working. He's always moving. He's always working everything together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. So just remember that God is always working. And sometimes when we're in this waiting season, it can feel lonely, right? We don't know where God is. We just learned that God is always working. But what about if I feel lonely? Feeling lonely is hard. I've been there. But John 14:18, Jesus is speaking to the disciples and he says, "No, I will not abandon you as orphans. I will come to you." Now, this is in the context of Jesus. He's getting ready to leave. He's getting ready to be crucified and to go up to heaven, and he's not going to be with the disciples anymore. But he says, "I will come to you." And so that should be a reminder that Jesus is always going to be with us, because he's speaking to us as well. He's not just going to leave us. He's coming back for us. Deuteronomy 31:6 says, "So be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid and do not panic before them. For the Lord your God will personally go ahead of you. He will neither fail you nor abandon you." God is never going to leave, and he's not going to fail. He can't do that. He can't fail. So it's like you never lose with God. And he's never going to abandon you. He's not the type of God to just up and leave. He's not going to do that. He's actually involved with you in this very moment, and he cares about you, and he wants you, and he's guiding you, and he's leading you. You just got to listen to him, and you just got to pay attention to him. But he's never, ever, ever going to leave. And just to reinforce that, Joshua 1:9 says, "This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." This is where Joshua's going into the promised land, and it could be scary because you're going into a situation where you really don't know what's going to happen. You feel lonely, you're lost, you don't know what's going on, but trust that God is going to be with you. He goes ahead of you and he's going with you. And Hebrews 13 verse 5 says, "Don't love money, be satisfied with what you have, for God has said, I will never fail you and I will never abandon you." Understand that God is not going to leave us. He doesn't want to. He loves us way more than we love him, and he wants to be around us way more than we want to be around him. So he's not going to leave us. He cares about us too much to just leave us and to just let us be, right? He cares, and he wants to be involved in everything that we're doing. And so I just wanted to remind you guys of that. And so once again, waiting on the Lord can be hard, but it's so beneficial. It's so good. Good in a sense where we gain so much from the waiting season. We come out with new things. We come out fresh. We come out with new lessons learned. We come out with new understanding, with new perspective. We see things differently and we understand things differently. There may be something that you may learn in the waiting season that you may have not learned while you was over here just doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? And so in the waiting season, there's so much that happens. We just got to be open to it. So I just want you guys to remember that waiting on the Lord is super important, and that we should just stay in the Lord's presence, stay in prayer, continue to be with him, continue to pray, and not worry about the frets or don't fret about the schemes of wicked people or seeing other people prosper, but to be patient on the Lord and stay in his presence, like Psalms 37:7 says. And also, while we're waiting, we should also ask God to help us, to clothe us with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, like Colossians 3 verse 12 says. Why? Because these are all the things that we need to live as people, you know what I'm saying? And we should be doing these already, but while we're waiting, we should ask God to help us with these things, because God is always moving and he's never going to leave us nor forsake us, and he loves you. But that's really all I got for today. But yeah, like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment, hit the post notification, do whatever, just interact with the video, don't matter. If you haven't already, watch my last video about impatience, giving y'all my thoughts on impatience. But yeah, that's really it. I'm out.